It now smells like a humid day inside Joy Behar's moo-moo. And the motives stink worse than Joy Behar's jog bra. I mean, assuming she jogs. Oh, wait, there she is. She has a point. Maybe I am obsessed, but some people are obsessed with Bigfoot, and they don't get to see him on TV every afternoon. And if they did, could they tell the two apart? I don't know. But
Joy Behar just walked into a comedy blender. On one side, Bill Maher with his sarcasm scalpel. On the other, Greg Gutfeld with the snark of a caffeinated raccoon. What happens when these two unite? Absolute comedic carnage. Spoiler, Joy's ego didn't make it out alive. If you've ever wanted to witness a roast so brutal it could qualify as a controlled burn, buckle up, because Maher and Gutfeld just turned Joy's entire worldview into a punchline. Let's go.
And by the way, out there, that hat that you keep wearing, that red hat that says "Make America Great Again," that tells people that you go along with this. So you might as well just put a swastika on the hat.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Because we see it anyway.
I'm not going to defend Donald Trump ever, but I would never say that we should put the swastika on the cap, because I think you can hate Donald Trump. You can't hate everybody who likes him. It's half the country. I don't want to live in that country. I don't want to live in the country where I hate half the country, and I don't hate half the country.
How dare you disagree with me?
Joy Behar just walked straight into a comedy buzzsaw. On one side, Bill Maher wielding sarcasm like a scalpel. On the other, Greg Gutfeld armed with the snark of a caffeinated raccoon. What happens when these two collide in perfect sync? Total comedic carnage. Spoiler alert. Joy's ego didn't survive. If you've ever wanted to witness a roast so savage it might qualify as a controlled burn, you're in the right place. Maher and Gutfeld didn't just challenge her worldview, they turned it into the punchline. Buckle up. Let's get into it.
Joy Behar accused Elon Musk of being pro-apartheid, but then begged him afterwards not to sue. Musk lawyers have yet to comment because they're still checking to see if it's legal to sue a cow.
Shots fired.
Just a legal question. I don't know why it's so upsetting. I don't make the rules in this country. All right.
See, there are three things in life that feel impossible to escape: death, taxes, and Joy Behar forcing her political wisdom into daytime television like a retired drama teacher who just discovered Twitter. For over 2 decades, she's turned The View into a gladiator arena of half-baked opinions and fully cooked outrage, where every topic somehow transforms into an unsolicited TED Talk no one asked for. And last week, Joy didn't disappoint.
Called The View?
It's called The View. It's not called The Facts.
Yeah, but
It's
isn't it interesting that it's called, I mean, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
There is
clearly,
one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
That's correct. I think that's not.
Just when you thought it couldn't get any more surreal, in walked the unlikeliest duo in media: Bill Maher and Greg Gutfeld. Ideological opposites on most days. But today? Tag teaming across the political divide with one shared mission, reminding the world that Joy Behar might just be the unofficial mascot of America's media meltdown.
Said that Gutfeld talks about you all the time.
Who is he? Really, who is he?
I don't watch the show.
He has a show.
I don't watch the
never
show.
heard of him.
Yeah.
I guess he's just obsessed with me.
No. Next, Joy's going to say she's never heard of carbs. Seriously, her denial of knowing me is as believable as her red hair. But obsession? I mean, come on, Joy. Where would you even get that idea? Like Joy Behar's face, it's looking worse and worse by the day. More full of crap than Joy Behar after a night of scotch at Taco Bell. Her being named Joy is like me being named Ugly. Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the past.
This wasn't a debate. There was no roundtable, no face-to-face showdown. Just two very different men, armed with sarcasm and broadcast platforms, independently landing on the same conclusion. Joy Behar has become the living, breathing example of what happens when cable TV is left completely unchecked. Intro 5. Let's start with Bill Maher. Skewering stupidity isn't new for him, it's practically his brand. But lately, he's made it a full-time mission, especially when that stupidity hides behind the mask of progressive enlightenment. Maher has perfected the art of exasperated monologues, like a fed-up uncle sighing through dinner as he explains basic economics to a table full of TikTok scholars. But lately, his frustration has sharpened into something else. A scorched earth crusade against shallow media figures dressed up as intellectual heavyweights. Enter Joy Behar. If Maher's political disappointment had a poster child, it would have bangs, a mug in hand, and be seated stage left on The View, nodding passionately at her own hot takes. He didn't need to name her. Every dig hit home. A show where emotional outbursts replace facts? Check. Hosts who confuse applause with accuracy? Check. A panel that treats dissent like betrayal? Checkmate. Maher didn't just criticize the culture Joy thrives in, he dismantled it. He torched performative virtue signaling, mocked outrage as entertainment, and dissected liberal groupthink like a frog in a high school bio class. And it was painfully obvious who that frog looked like. To Maher, Joy Behar isn't just a media figure. She's a parody of progressivism. The kind who thinks volume equals virtue, who swaps nuance for smugness, and who treats moral superiority like a personality trait, served with condescension and a theatrical eye roll.
I just want them to pay attention to words like vermin and poisoning the blood and the Third Reich. That's all. That's really what I'm asking.
They see Trump as a comedian. They see him as a clown who says crazy
They
things.
saw Hitler like that.
Right? Okay, but that doesn't mean, you can hate Trump. You can't hate everybody who likes him. It is half the time.
If Bill Maher is the man at the bar sipping scotch and questioning your logic, Joy Behar is the one climbing onto the table to announce she's offended on behalf of the entire planet, and Mars. Not subtle, Maher's scathing commentaries didn't just skim the surface of daytime nonsense. They drilled into it like an oil rig powered by sarcasm and intellectual exhaustion. In Maher's world, political talk shows have become echo chambers of emotional theater, and standing center stage with a microphone made of misplaced confidence is Joy Behar. Now, if Maher is the disillusioned liberal quietly writing scathing essays in the margins of the Democratic Handbook, Greg Gutfeld is the snarky kid in the back row drawing caricatures of the teacher, and those caricatures are now getting primetime ratings. Greg Gutfeld is like your skeptical friend with a Twitter addiction who was suddenly given a TV show, a desk, and permission to roast everyone. He doesn't enter with policy breakdowns or deep historical context. He just charges in with punchlines and the chaotic energy of someone who believes satire should sting a little. When Gutfeld set his sights on Joy Behar, it wasn't a surgical strike. It was a stand-up routine loaded with missile-grade sarcasm. To him, Behar isn't just a misguided commentator. She's comedy gold, a never-ending stream of tone-deaf declarations wrapped in the delusion of moral high ground and delivered with all the subtlety of a fire alarm.
Is getting hit with one of the worst hurricanes that will ever see.
But you should know, does anyone remember that time when she got carried away by Hurricane Sandy? Take a look. Thank you.
Where Maher criticizes Behar for what she represents in liberal ideology, Gutfeld lampoons her as a product of media elitism. Someone who graduated summa cum laude from the school of shouting over guests. He doesn't need flowery metaphors. He just points at the absurdity and laughs until the audience joins in. When you watch Gutfeld break down one of Behar's on-air sermons with the grace of a drunk juggler, it becomes painfully clear this isn't political analysis. It's demolition with a smile. He frames her like a relic of a time when network TV thought having a loud opinion was the same as having a good one. In Gutfeld's eyes, Behar's takes are the intellectual equivalent of a toddler banging on a piano. Loud, chaotic, and technically music if you squint hard enough. The beauty of it all? Maher and Gutfeld didn't coordinate a thing. They're not buddies and would likely avoid each other at a party, but somehow they landed on the same conclusion without sharing notes. Joy Behar is the Sistine Chapel of misguided commentary, painstakingly crafted over years, full of detail, and wildly overestimated in value. Both men saw the same symptoms: ego masquerading as expertise, moral outrage substituting for argument, and a total abandonment of intellectual curiosity. But their diagnosis came from different hospitals.
And finally, new rule: stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Maher wrote her off as a cautionary tale of progressive excess, while Gutfeld framed her as the blooper reel of serious journalism. It's poetic in a way. Two TV personalities from ideological zip codes on opposite sides of the map both deciding that Joy Behar was the hill neither wanted to die on. Instead, they used her as a piñata of political parody, blindfolded, spinning, and swinging hard. While Behar didn't respond, she didn't need to, the damage was done. By implication, this wasn't a war of words, it was a roast by reality. Maher rolled his eyes across an entire ideology, Gutfeld laughed his way through a personality cult, and in the middle stood Behar, the unwilling star of a bipartisan comedy special. The timing couldn't have been worse, or better, depending on your sense of humor. As political discourse continues to slide into the kiddie pool of public opinion, the last thing anyone needed was a woman yelling into a void of applause signs and coffee mugs. But there she was, a beacon of everything Maher critiques and Gutfeld ridicules. It's like if a cartoon character wandered into a documentary and refused to leave. Maher built his argument like a philosophy professor who finally snapped, while Gutfeld just popped in, kicked over the podium, and made a fart joke with a punchline. Somehow, they both exposed the same truth.
Here's Joy Behar talking about refusing to share a kidney.
I find that friends bizarre. With a Trump supporter. I won't give them a kidney, but I could be friends with them.
Hey, Joy, it's a kidney, not a pizza. Of course, she's kidding at first, but then she goes on to explain the moral foundation for her resentment, and it's the same one that drives all deadly ideologies.
Joy Behar is the political pundit equivalent of a laugh track, there to signal when the audience is supposed to care, even when the content isn't funny. Make no mistake, this isn't personal, it's cultural. Behar isn't just Behar. She's symbolic, the echo of a media era where yelling was treated as bravery and nuance was booed off stage. She's the grand finale of a fireworks show that ran out of sparks 10 seasons ago but kept firing dud after dud because someone lost the off switch. What makes it worse, or better for comedy, is that Behar seems blissfully unaware, that smug confidence radiating off her like a scented candle at a yoga retreat. That's what Maher and Gutfeld roast. The idea that being loud and repetitive somehow equals being informed, the unwavering belief that a TV platform equals intellectual superiority, and the total lack of self-awareness that makes it all accidentally hilarious. In a way, Maher and Gutfeld became the unintentional buddy cops of media critique. One uses dry, cutting sarcasm, the other, a leaf blower of mockery. And together, they dismantled the myth of Joy Behar's credibility like a Lego tower built on a trampoline. Maher didn't need to say her name. His criticism of shallow liberal punditry was specific enough that it practically wore a red wig and asked for another segment on gun control.
If The View is your favorite show, you might be a little slow. Yes, it's time for
Our View on The View.
very serious music. They love to play the race card because logic for them is hard.
Gutfeld, meanwhile, didn't hold back. He lobbed grenades of satire with the glee of someone who knows they'll never be invited to brunch with the View crew and prefers it that way. What makes this roast worth watching isn't just that Joy Behar got metaphorically bulldozed by two men who'd rather wrestle porcupines than agree on dinner plans. It's that their laughter, one from the liberal cocktail lounge, the other from the conservative dive bar, landed on the exact same target. And no, it's not because Behar's some Machiavellian mastermind pulling ideological strings. She's just the walking, talking embodiment of a cultural feedback loop that mistakes self-righteousness for personality. The View has morphed from a talk show into group therapy for the chronically overconfident. Joy doesn't debate, she declares. She doesn't question, she proclaims. It's a televised shrine to the gospel of unfiltered opinions wrapped in smugness. That's what Maher was rolling his eyes at from his high horse of long-form monologues. That's what Gutfeld was mocking with a smirk from his satire dungeon.
I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no fucking thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi... attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide.
And the best part? Maher and Gutfeld aren't even in the same ideological tax bracket. But somehow, they both sniffed out the same rodent in the room. The decay of honest discourse under a pile of empty applause lines. Joy Behar isn't just a panelist. She's the mascot of an era where loud equals smart, and having a platform automatically makes you an expert. When both Maher and Gutfeld start sharpening their comedic scalpels for the same patient, you know the diagnosis isn't political. It's cultural cholesterol. Shows like The View operate in an echo chamber so airtight even their Wi-Fi has an opinion. They preach to the choir with such fervor, even the choir's wishing for subtitles. Conversations have been reduced to karaoke, repeating the same tired tunes with just enough sass to pretend it's original. Meanwhile, the studio audience claps like trained seals at every sanctimonious hot take, and the rest of us watch from afar like it's a nature documentary on delusion. That's the deeper punchline Maher and Gutfeld delivered. Comedy still has the guts to call out the absurd, even when that absurdity wears professional makeup and sits under studio lights. Maher brought the cerebral wine-sipping snark, Gutfeld rolled in with barbaric energy, and Joy Behar? She brought whatever noise happens when self-importance crashes headfirst into overdue reality. Maybe this wasn't about owning the libs or dunking on the right. Maybe it was about reclaiming comedy's rightful throne, the one place where nonsense, no matter what political jersey it's wearing, gets smacked with a laugh track and sent back to the green room. In a world that can't agree on what day it is, we can all unite around one beautiful truth. Joy Behar's latest take was once again hilariously face-bomb-inducing. But here's the kicker. They weren't really trying to humiliate her. Not really. They were making points, telling jokes, dropping observations. And Joy just happened to be the punchline hiding in plain sight. It's like realizing the main character of a sitcom you've been hate-watching is also writing the script. They didn't just roast her. They turned her into a metaphor for everything wrong with political talk shows. So no, this wasn't a debate, or even a confrontation. This was a masterclass in mutual roasting, broadcast across 2 networks and united by one theme. If Joy Behar is the voice of reason, we're all in trouble. Maher delivered the lecture, Gutfeld brought the popcorn, and Joy? Well, she unknowingly gave them both a lifetime's worth of material, without even realizing she was the joke. And that, my friend, is what true bipartisan comedy looks like, one roasting at a time.